Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our landlord information evening. We've been a couple of weeks since, or a few weeks since our last time that we came to you, so we hope you're all keeping well and safe during these abnormal times. Just wanted to come to you tonight. We're going to cover off on a few things, a few milestones within our office that we've achieved over the last 3 weeks, which we're pretty excited about and excited to share with you, which we'll go through once Michael joins me in a moment. But just wanted to thank you all again for the opportunity to taking the time to view this video and being a part of it tonight. As always, our Q&A is open during the landlord information evening, so please send through your questions if you have any through tonight. We'll love to, as always, we love sort of live feedback and live questions coming through. So just a little question mark inside the speech bubble at the top. Click that through and send it through at any point during tonight's information night. So Michael, welcome. How are you going?
Yeah, well, thanks, Anthony.
That's right.
Yeah, it's same as well. Just obviously welcome everybody to this one here. So we've changed the format slightly this time around as well. So we're going to be less COVID talk, thankfully, a little bit more just in terms of monthly updates. So this will become a regular occurrence now every month. We've chosen the first Wednesday of every month as a good starting point. It just so happens that this month it happens to be the 1st of July. And
happy end of financial year. Well, happy new financial year.
New financial year, exactly right. No, that's right. Anthony, a few milestones. Did you want to maybe cover off on those first?
Yes, the first one we welcomed a new team member in today. Hank joined our team, so it was super exciting to have Hank join us. He now joins as assistant property manager and will be assisting with leasing for the time being, and also moving into a property management role. So super excited to have him come across. Comes with previous real estate experience as well. So great to have someone like Hank join the team. It was awesome opportunity. So so welcome, Hank.
Yeah, no, I'd like to echo the same thing there as well. It's great to be able to welcome a new team member to the team. It's always nice. So yeah, Hank comes with a little bit of experience in real estate already, and joining assistant property manager and helping us initially in leasing, which will be quite good. So clearing some of that those properties that we've currently got on the list. So it's nice to have a helping set of hands there with that, and then learning the ropes on property management and moving into that department as well, which will be good. Another milestone, a milestone actually I'd like to kind of touch on, which is linked to obviously Hank joining the team as well. So we've reached a milestone of 800 properties. It's been hanging there over our heads for probably 2 or 3 years, and we've been getting close, but never actually been able to crack 800. But yes, as of last week, we officially exceeded 800, and I think we're sitting at about 803 at the moment on last count. So it's really exciting. It's always nice to kind of hit those nice big round numbers, but obviously a big testament to all of you, our clients, and the team for working so hard. We wouldn't be able to achieve those sorts of milestones without the support of a great team around us as well.
Yeah, 100%. And as you echo what I was saying before, I'll do exactly the same thing with that. I mean, we couldn't have done it without our landlords and our clients. So thank you all so much for your continuous support and through all, our whole business. Thank you all so very much. It means a lot, but also and to our team as well. All the hard work and the hours they put into it. It's been a great team effort to get to this, and we'll only keep on growing. But we'll make sure that we stay that always have a great team that's around us to continue on.
Yeah, no, that's right. And then Anthony, the last milestone, you're probably a little bit embarrassed by this one here, but Anthony's also had well, I shouldn't say embarrassed in a bad way. He's been embarrassed in probably a good way. He's had a target, or sorry, a overall goal of at least 10 new listings in a month. But he's absolutely smashed that this month, and completely broken records. So he's at 15 new listings for the month of June, which is fantastic. So anybody out there that's saying that the real estate market's slow, I'd beg to differ. But obviously, huge amount of work by Anthony there. connecting with quite a few owners. But yeah, really exciting. Obviously, from our perspective, and also for those owners as well, with 15 new properties coming to market.
Yeah, and who says that June's a quiet time in real estate? Normally, I think it's got to do with the fact that people aren't being able to go away this year, and normally this time of year you have a lot of people who travel overseas and go away, and everyone thinks that it's a quiet time, and they'll look to do things in spring. I was actually just having a look back, and being that it's the end of the financial year and the start of the new one, it's always interesting to go back and look at past financial years and look at what happens. And interestingly enough, July is one of the busier months for us when it comes to sales. So we'll be going into July with a good amount of listings to be able to service and sell for our clients, which will be super exciting. And there's some amazing properties that we've got coming onto the market. I mean, there's already a few that we've already been able to put on the market already, but this weekend we've got 3 or 4 new ones coming on, which is going to be super exciting to be able to showcase them and open those. And but all 15 are absolute cracking listings. So super excited to get some really big results on those ones there for our clients.
Yeah. And Anthony, what's been the driver behind those owners looking at putting their places on the market? Has it been the fact that, like you mentioned, obviously people not going overseas as much this year and those sorts of things, or is it mainly looking at trying to beat any dip? I know there's been a little bit of speculation that September might not be the greatest of times for the economy, with kind of JobKeeper and things like that coming off. So is it people looking to try to beat that dip that they were predicting, or what's the main driver there?
It's a bit of everything. So, for instance, one property we listed yesterday for sale. We've been in discussions with the owner for the last 2 or 3 weeks about putting his place on the market. So he lives at 450 St Kilda Road, and he's looking to buy a property down in the peninsula. So sell the city apartment and move down there. So that's just sort of almost call it a trading, if you want to sort of say that. But so selling one to buy another. So there's that. There's also had a few clients that that we've been in contact with for the last few months that are finally starting to see that uptake in property sales that are taking place in June. A bit more buyer inquiry, a bit more interest, and that's just us sort of keeping our owners informed of what's happening in the market. And just sort of saying, look, now's the right time to sort of go. There's also a few that have been reading the newspaper, the papers and the press, and saying that looking at things that there's some storm clouds ahead, and they're like, well, we want to be in a position that we're sold before that happens. It'll be interesting to see. It's funny at the moment we're getting a lot of feedback from buyers. They're saying, oh, we're going to wait to September, October, because that's when everyone's sort of saying that the market's going to dip. My response back to those buyers at the moment is, well, if everyone's going to be waiting, there's not going to be much of a dip, because everyone then will be buying, and all that will happen, there'll be just a reduction in supply, an increase in property demand, because all those people that were waiting are going to come back into the market. So my advice to buyers is to do stuff now rather than wait. So it's just one of those that it's a bit of everything, a bit of a big mixed bag. But just leading on to that, just to sort of give a bit of a sales rundown, we have been definitely seeing an increasing number of buyers out and about. So we were over the month of May and probably the first Saturday of June, we're probably only seeing 5 to 6 buyers that are open for inspections, and we're doing anywhere between 9 to 12 opens on a weekend. So there's a lot of properties that we weren't getting many people through. Obviously, there was a couple of sort of standout properties that would get a few more, but over the course of last weekend, we saw over 32 buyers come through our open for inspections. So we're getting probably 5 or 6 times the amount of people through our opens, which is great. We saw people at all but 2 opens on the weekend, so that was again a super exciting thing to happen. So we're starting to get those numbers coming back in, but in saying that, you've also got buyers now that are a little bit reluctant. Things are taking a little bit longer to sort of get done and get buyers across the line, and just sort of taking their time in committing to a sale, or to a purchase. So it's always got its challenges. It's not the first time we've seen one of these markets, and definitely won't be the last. So it's really about just nurturing those clients, those buyers through the process to get into that point of making an offer in writing, and the same with an owner, making sure that they're prepared for that when that offer does come in, that we're in a position to act on it.
No, that's great. That's great. And just on a rental front, worthwhile providing a bit of an update there. I've actually been able to get some statistics this time around too. So I've been in contact with one of our representatives at realestate.com. He's come through with some really interesting statistics. So I might just pop those up on the screen to begin with. So there's two sets of graphs here. The first one, and it's probably a bit difficult for most people to read, but the most important part to kind of look at is that black line that runs along the top there, and you can see it dipping off. You probably won't be able to see the days and the months and years along the bottom there, but you can see the very peak of that towards the tail end of the graph is February 2020. So this is a graph that shows the average price of rentals in the Melbourne local government area. So it captures all of the I suppose the municipality of Melbourne. So it's Melbourne CBD and the direct vicinity. You can see there in February, rents really peaked at around $550 per week. So that's the average or the median leased price achieved in the Melbourne municipality, $550 per week. We haven't yet received the June numbers because obviously June's just ended, but based on these numbers here, which are the end of May, you can quite clearly see a significant dip from February to May, from $550 per week down to $450 per week. Speaking to realestate.com yesterday, their expectations are that June will land somewhere closer to $400 per week. So over the course of 5 months, we've seen a dip of $150 or around 25% in rents in the Melbourne municipality, and that's a median rental. So it's pretty scary and pretty sobering, I suppose, when you see those sorts of numbers. But it echoes what we've been kind of talking about over the last 2 months. Really, we saw the initial travel ban impact us in January. So there was a slight dip in January, but then it kind of recovered back in Feb. Then there was the full lockdown banning all international travel, which has obviously had a pretty significant impact from both that short-term rental market as well as the international students, and it's just literally fallen off a cliff. The really interesting number here, and on the next graph that I'll show you as well, is the percentage down the bottom right-hand side. So that actually shows current leased to new ratio. So what that is, it's basically saying that only a third of new listed properties are being leased. For the number of new properties going up, only a third of that number are actually being leased. So, for example, if in 1 week there's 100 properties listed on the market, only 30 properties are being leased in that same week. And it actually says in the description here that anything between 40 to 60% implies a healthy balance. Anything below that is obviously not healthy, and it does indicate that we are in a downward market, unfortunately. But like I said, it's kind of interesting to have the numbers actually to support what we've been talking about over the last couple of months. So that's quite interesting. But
they're advertised prices too. So isn't it? Because the realestate.com doesn't obviously get the number of what the lease price is. This is what the properties were advertised for. Is that right?
No, so it's actually lease prices. So
okay.
So they do get the lease prices. Now there might be some sort of negotiation that happens in between there, but they're able to get the lease prices through the applications that are received. So realestate.com also own the main application app that most real estate agents use, which is OneForm. So they actually get a real life picture of what applications are received and at what rental. So whilst you might have something advertised at a higher price, you might have tenants coming in offering lower. So that is that's the median lease price. So that's the price that was actually achieved to lease the property. Then this one here, I suppose, is even more sobering. The graph, not so much, because you don't see as much of a downtick. So this is just for the suburb of South Bank, because obviously there's been quite a lot of media coverage, and we've spoken about the South Bank market as well, where there's heavy saturation of short stay accommodation, which just obviously isn't being used anymore. There's a significant amount of properties coming to market, and we've seen it in properties the buildings that we're in. You can see 70, 80, 90 properties in the same building coming up and available. the rents there again peaked in February at around 550, 560 per week. As at the end of May, they dropped down to about 460, 470 from what I can see in the graph there. They're expecting May, by the end of June, that would drop off down to 450 or below. But the most significant figure on that graph is a current lease to new ratio, so 17%. So what that's saying is that for every 100 properties that are advertised, only 17 of those or 17 are leased. So it means that we're not even keeping up close to leasing the number of properties in those areas, and particularly in South Bank, with new properties that are kind of coming to market at the same time. So again, it's nothing new. I think we knew that, and I think we expected that the graphs would show those sorts of things. But it's actually really interesting being able to see those numbers now properly, now that it's had an opportunity to kind of play out over the course of a couple of months. And we'll be watching them closely again over the next couple of months. But it certainly does, I suppose, line up with the conversations that we've been having with a lot of landlords around, what's actually been happening out there in the marketplace.
Those prices from both and it looks like that's February on both. They're pretty high sort of numbers. Would you say that was a record that we'd seen for those two suburbs, so Melbourne and South Bank, in terms of prices?
Yes. So a really good example, actually. So we've just picked up a new management on a Beckett Street. So it used to be used as a short-term rental through one of the hotel groups that were in there. And at the time, the landlord spoke to us and said, look, considering looking at, when it first settled, they said, we're considering looking at using it for short-term rental or, the normal rental market. And the property settled about a year to 18 months ago. At that time, we were expecting that you probably get around 550 to 600 per week for the property. The short-term rental was achieving slightly higher, so they decided to go with that option. They've since come to us in the last couple of weeks, and we just picked up the file today, actually. And we are looking at advertising that same property now for 500 per week. What's interesting is that in February, we leased one identical floor plan in the building for 740 per week. So over 740. 740, yeah. So over the course of 4 or 5 months, we've seen a $240 a week drop in the rental of that same floor plan. Wow. And purely based on demand. So, in January, February, when there was still the borders were still open, you were still seeing international students coming into the country. It might sound bad, but you could name your price. We put whatever price you really wanted to achieve on a property, and within a week or so it would be gone. That same building now, like I said, that's a clear demonstration of I suppose the adjustment that's happened in prices. Obviously, there's a huge segment of that particular marketplace that's been removed, and obviously that's a little micro market there. And I've spoken about it before. That top end of Elizabeth Street, a Beckett Street, Franklin Street, it's a very niche market. It was really targeted at international students, and because of that, the demand was there, the prices were there. And the rents that were being achieved were astronomical. And at the time, even $740 a week for a 2-bedroom, 2-bed bathroom apartment might seem ridiculous, but the market was willing to pay it. In today's day and age, we've seen a $240 dip, $250 dip per week, which represents a 34% dip in price. So pretty significant.
Have we seen the bottom, Michael, of the rental market?
Good question.
I mean, this is, and I don't want to throw you under the bus because it's a question that always gets asked, and it's interesting. It's finally there. The sales agents actually finally, we can actually say it to you guys, is that have you seen the bottom of the market, because you haven't experienced anything like this for as long as I've been in the city. I mean, and I've been now 8 years, or coming on 8 years in August that I've been operating in the city. We've never seen rental prices drop. I mean, you'd always, and I think I might have mentioned this in previous videos that we've done, we'd have a new building get released, and I remember one in particular was 568 St Kilda Road. That came to the market, and at the time you'd probably be leasing a 1-bedroom for about $350 to $380 per week. and we probably leased all the one bedrooms in there for about 320 because there was so many that came on the market and was like, all right, well, let's just get these leased. So we probably leased them for about 10% under market, but within 12 months, it was back to 380 or even 400. Like they jumped that price, and you'd get that every now and then. There'd be stages where 4 or 5 new developments would come to market, so you see rental prices come back a little bit, but within about a month or two, they sort of were back up again. So they weren't, I guess, influenced by what was happening, with the markets and people traveling and all those sorts of things. So it's a bit of a loaded question, but have we seen the bottom, or is there still potential for it to keep? And I guess that the graph sort of answers that question, doesn't it? Because we're not seeing healthy numbers of 40 to 60% of properties being leased in a month. We're still well under that at 17 in South Bank, and I can't remember what you said about for the city of Melbourne, but it was probably 2025. So you would suspect that there's probably more rental adjustments to happen over the next little bit.
Yeah, so the bottom, like you said, the bottom's a difficult one it's a difficult question to answer about hitting the bottom. I think in certain areas we've certainly reached that. There's a couple of buildings that jump to mind, like 39 Lonsdale Street, which is a heavy student, was a student common building. You can owner occupy, but mainly students living in there. And a few other similar buildings, you're seeing some rents that we haven't seen in 10 years. So they are extremely low. So I can't see rents going any further in those sorts of areas. I might be proven wrong, but I can't see those happening. What I'd like to see is a bit of a flattening of those graphs. If you start seeing a bit of a flattening, then you'd expect that we've hit a bottom. What I expect to see instead is this to be a very prolonged period of lower rents until we get something like a vaccine, which then allows borders to be opened. But we're now in that phase, and again, we kind of spoke about this about a month or so ago, but we're now in a phase now where tenants who are approaching the end of their fixed term tenancies are looking at what properties are available on the market, and then making a decision off the back of that, of obviously ending their tenancy or entering a negotiation with their landlord on dropping their rent. So it's becoming that, I suppose, that prolonged period where you're going to have someone that, say, might be vacating in September, October, November, December this year, that is going to be looking at the market going, well, I can't wait for my lease to be up because I'm either going to give notice to vacate and go and get something in the same building for $100 less than what I'm paying at the moment. So again, you have the property vacate, move into a cheaper option, and then the landlord for that one there where they've moved out of really has no option but to lower the rent by 100 to then meet the market, or the tenant making, engaging with the landlord and trying to negotiate a reasonable reduction that's going to be, at market or close to market, taking into consideration the inconvenience of actually having to pack up and move to another property. So I suppose bottom is probably a really difficult term, but what I see is kind of this prolonged period where we're going to have an adjustment to rents across the board. CBD, South Bank, South Melbourne, all those areas that are in the city of Melbourne. And you're going to see that prolonged probably until the end of the year, possibly longer, depending on when borders reopen, really.
Yeah. And there's no, and I think we've spoken, you and I, about this, about the borders reopening and what we're sort of hearing. We're not hearing students until sort of middle of next year at the earliest, are we?
Yeah, look, there's been some talk about early next year. I've heard a few reports. There's also been a report recently, or a couple of reports recently, about a couple of universities having these little hubs where they'll allow small groups of students to return back and keep them in a hub. But I don't know what the government's, what their appetite is for that, given what's happened here in Victoria over the course of the last few weeks, where from hotel quarantine, it seems as though a couple of cases have leaked out into security, which is then leaked out into the community, and it's going to cause all sorts of untold damage. I don't see that. I don't see them, after the way that's been handled, I don't see them kind of extending that any further. But look, that might be good.
That might be a good leeway. Sorry, but that might be a good leeway into what we're going to talk about next, and about the what's happening in Victoria. I mean, at the moment we are the everyone's opened up their borders to us. It's a bit of payback because we are the most livable city in the world, and everyone at the moment around Australia is pointing the finger and saying that we're the epicenter of the coronavirus. And I don't think we're anywhere near that. But obviously, there's certain suburbs and certain postcodes that have been locked down, so they're back into stage 3 lockdown, I believe. Is that right? So not being able to leave home unless you need, essentials, exercise, or for work and caregiving and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what?
yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. So I was just going to say. So what? We've obviously implemented a bit of a COVID safe plan again around that. So do you want to maybe just sort of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I suppose coming back to where we were, so we've not so much relaxed our approach, but we've been again quite measured in how we're handling it. So we never really, I suppose, 100% worked from home, but we were working from home largely. But we've now kind of put in a plan, and what the events of the last week or so, we put in a plan where the office is split into 2 separate teams, and I think we might have spoken about it in a previous video as well. So we've got our blue team and our orange team, and they work on separate days. So one of my days in the office is Wednesday. Anthony's not, so he's actually working from a different location at the moment. And the idea is that we don't cross paths, the 2 teams. And the idea there is that, if we were to have one confirmed case, or we were to come into contact with a confirmed case, and we were told to quarantine, and all our close contacts were told to quarantine, then at worst case, we'd have half the office locked up for 2 weeks, but not the entire office. So that's our, I suppose, business continuity plan in place. But we adjusted that further yesterday, obviously, in light of the lockdown in those 36 or 38 suburbs, the 10 postcodes. Thankfully, we don't actually have any properties available in those areas at the moment. We aren't doing physical routine inspections. They're still being done remotely. So we're not directly exposed to those suburbs. But we are indirectly exposed to bordering suburbs. So we've got a couple of staff members in the office that live in areas close to those lockdown suburbs. So we're just taking additional precautions there, allowing them, or extending the work from home allowance for those two staff members, and obviously taking the precautions that we need to around that. But also where we're doing inspections on bordering suburbs. So, for example, we've got one in Moonee Ponds at the moment that is a bordering suburb, but is not directly affected. We've changed that to private inspection again, purely just so that we can maintain the safety of the people within the office, as well as also the people that are coming through inspecting. So it's just just implementing those extra precautions. And then last night, again, in light of the news, we've got our plan ready to go in terms of going back into lockdown if that was to occur. I know there's been some speculation that if this isn't successful, this kind of semi-lockdown isn't successful, that we might proceed into a whole statewide lockdown again, like we were a few weeks ago. So again, I suppose we're even more prepared this time than what we were last time. We're thankful for the way we were prepared and the way we were able to react, but obviously want to make sure that we're super prepared should it happen again. So we're obviously already getting things sorted out. A couple of little technology things that didn't go as good as what they probably could have last time. So we're making sure that all those little issues are ironed out, and we can just again flick the switch like we did last time and make it all happen. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to throw back to you, Anthony. For some reason it's getting stuck.
That's right. Yeah, we're prepared for it now. We've been through it once. I think we're well prepared to be able to do the whole work from home and work remotely. And it worked pretty well last time. And I think it's just it's another reminder that we thought we were through this and we're out of this, but we're not. We're nowhere near, I think, the end of it. So we've got to make sure that we keep safe. Keep our loved ones safe as well. So just making sure that we've got those precautions in place to be able to do that. Not just us, but again, everyone that we come in contact with. I mean, I had a situation today, talking to a tenant of a property that we've just listed for sale, and not feeling comfortable about having people walk through her property and those sorts of things. So spend a bit of time sort of communicate it, and explain the situation, how we sort of deal with inspections around these situations at the moment, and she felt comfortable with that, and she was sort of happy to allow us to do that. Now, it is an off-market property, so we're not going to be doing open for inspections. It will just be privates at the moment, but just making sure that before we arrive, she's got all the lights on, so we're not touching any light switches. If the buyer's ever going to go through, if they're going to open up any doors or cupboards, that it's us that does that. We'll make sure that we've got antibacterial wipes to be able to wipe down any surfaces afterwards. So just making sure that we're doing our bit to stop the spread, and also making sure that we are keeping our the rest of our team safe around us, because as you said before, we don't want to be that office that is known to contribute to the spread, or be in the papers for all the wrong reasons, is that the COVID's sort of ripped through our office. So we're making sure that we're taking all those precautions in doing all that. So it's challenging, but at least now we know how to deal with it. So I think that's the one positive that we can take out of this, that we know that we can work through it, and it doesn't affect us too much as day to day. It just means that we work from home, and I work from secret locations like I am today. I'm going to rename where I'm actually working today to the Batcave. Like just doing those things that we're able to do what we're good at doing, and that's but to be at the top of our game in making sure that we're delivering the right services to our clients.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And talking about services, another good segue. Obviously being the 1st of July, hopefully you would have all received your end financial year statements by email today. Obviously, if you're registered to receive them by post, I believe they were going out. I saw one of the girls in the office here folding those and putting them in envelopes today, so they should be making their way out this week as well. We had quite a lot of feedback from last year's end of financial year statements that were received by our clients. A lot of people weren't happy with the fact that there wasn't a monthly breakdown on those end of financial year statements, but we've since been able to change that. So provided some significant feedback to our software provider, and thankfully this year's ones are broken down on a monthly basis. So they look very similar to the ones that you would have received the previous year, so 2018 year. And then they provide a monthly breakdown, provide your totals. So it's as simple as kind of handing that on to your accountant. Also a reminder, if you are paying any invoices yourself, so your owner's corp, water or council, and you prefer to be able to hand the end of financial year statement to your accountant incomplete, as complete as possible. Obviously, we provide the service of paying all of those outgoings for you and including those in your statement. So just reach out to either your property manager or myself, and we'd be more than happy to organise that for you. That's it's not too much trouble for us at all. But we're more than happy to do it, and I know it certainly helps from an administration perspective at the end. And also worthwhile just touching on the fact that we do have the landlord portal. I know there's a bit of a mixed uptake on that one there. Some landlords absolutely love it. Others would prefer just to receive the emails. But the landlord portal is a good option for you to be able to access all of that information at any time. So you'll obviously receive your end of financial year statement through there, but you also receive your monthly statements. And all of the invoices are accessible as well. So if for some reason you needed to download a owner's corporation invoice or a council rate or a land tax notice that we'd paid for you, then that would be stored in the system as well. So you can see that. Gives you a great little snapshot of where rent's paid up to on your tenancies, what the current rental is, all those sorts of things. It's a good little system to have access to, and it also means that you can access that any time of the day or night. Weekends, whenever you need to. It's got obviously 24/7 access. So again, if you've got any questions on how to access that, shoot me through an email or give me a call. I'm more than happy to kind of walk you through how to set that up. I know invitations are probably sent out quite some time ago now, but more than happy to I suppose walk people through the setup of that. Yeah. All right, Anthony, was there anything else that you wanted to add at all?
Not on that part. No, that was fine. There was something else before. It was just well, going through that I had, but it's escaped me now. But it'll come back to me. I'm sure it will. No, that's all for on that one. There is there anything else that you want to sort of cover off on tonight?
No, I think that's it. I've got something. Maybe while you're having a bit of a think, I've got something that I do need to mention. So some of you may have noticed the artwork that's been collecting in the background here on my wall in my office. So I just wanted to do a quick shout out to my daughter Abby. She's probably my biggest fan when it comes to doing these videos, and every time I get home from doing them, I get a good video dad from her. So just a quick hello, because I know she's watching again tonight, and she's keen to see her latest creation, which is the one there on the bottom that went up today. So just a quick shout out to Abby.
That's awesome. You'll be able to re-wallpaper the wall with all the artwork that's been coming.
Yeah, I know. It's growing pretty significantly, isn't it? I'll have to start on this wall over here soon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might just get rid and just do some full walls.
Some murals. Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than giving her paper, we'll just give her a couple of buckets of paint, and she can go nuts on the walls in the office.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Should love that.
Perfect. Did anything on your end at all there, Anthony?
No.
Gone blank.
Completely gone blank.
Okay.
Obviously, it wasn't important enough to discuss, but I'm sure it'll come to me at some point, and we'll talk about it in the next video.
No, that's fine. And I've just checked. There's no questions that have come through. So look, as always, if there are any questions at all, I'd encourage you to send them through. I'm just going to put our details up on the screen, Anthony, as well, so we can share those with you. So I've got the two computers going here tonight. There we go. All right, perfect. So I've popped our details up there. So yeah, so if anything that's kind of piqued your interest at all tonight, if you want to see those graphs that we put up earlier, any assistance with the end of financial year statements, want some advice on what the market's doing or anything like that at all, just like I said, feel free to reach out to one of us directly. Our mobile numbers are there. We're contactable 90% of the time. If we don't answer our phones, please leave a message. We'll call you back. But obviously, emails are there as well. But yeah, like I said, just thank you everybody for watching in tonight, and all those that watch the recording as well. If there's any other questions, like I said, that you've got at all, please reach out. But otherwise, we'll see you in a month's time.
It has come back to me. I haven't seen you all day today, so we can't see. We're obviously in the two separate teams, so I haven't been able to see anything special planned for tonight being the 1st of July. I know this is more exciting than New Year's Eve for you, or this time of year being an accountant. So anything special planned? Are we going to get the spreadsheets out and start planning all those, or what are we doing? We're doing your first tax return tonight, and as for everyone, this is a joke that happens every year, because I get a kick out of it. I know you hate it, but I get a kick out of it, so I had to bring it up.
Yeah, no, thanks, Anthony. To be honest, I actually thought I got away unscathed there. I thought we'd wrap up and there wouldn't be any mention of the 1st of July. But yes, it is my new year. No tax returns tonight. But no, I'll leave the celebration.
I'll swing past on the way home, then we can get mine out of the way first.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fine, no problem. I'll leave the celebrations to the weekend. We've got a bit left of the week yet, so yeah, leave the celebrations to the weekend.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Well, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next month for the next video. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.